Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome back to another new episode of What If Deku Joined the League of Villains. Don't forget to shower some appreciation onto the incredible author responsible for this fanfiction. The link is conveniently waiting for you in the description box down below. If you guys enjoy this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel after watching this video. Before we get into it though, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So let's start this video. Izuku was led to the staff room by All Might, who was in his missile form, and Aizawa. While walking they were intercepted by Vlad, Nito and Hitachi. Well, look who it is, Nito greeted. UA's resident villain. Oh, so you know. Good, that saves me having to explain, Izuku retorted. And just how are you both handling it? It must be quite shocking for you. Nito and Hitachi stared at him with calm expressions. It certainly was surprising, but Hitachi started. He was surprised that someone as young as Midoriya was a villain, but he was even more at what he had done. Izuku defended him and praised him for his quirk on others, excusing Elena, thought he would be better off as a villain. He couldn't understand it. Everything that's happening now outweighs that, Nito finished. While he was stunned Izuku was a villain, he was even more shocked at what had happened at the mall today regarding his classmates. He was worried about them and what they were going through. Furthermore, the fact that you got the shit kicked out of you an hour ago in an attempted kidnapping kind of makes you out to be the victim in this situation, so, Nito continued. Izuku groaned. Hitachi and Aizawa shot him looks that said seriously. All Might had an anime sweat fall down his forehead. Vlad just sighed. You know, it's so great to see that your sense of humor never fades, Izuku joked sarcastically. Even in the most dangerous and inappropriate situations. Thank you, Nito responded without an ounce of shame. Okay, enough. We've wasted enough time as it is, Aizawa declared. With that, they temporarily halted all conversation and moved on. They arrived at the staff room where everyone was waiting. All the teachers were assembled. Chief Saragami, Namasa, Ryo, Sansa, and even the Commissioner General were present. That shot, unsurprisingly, was there as well. Well, it's to see that you're safe and recovered, Midoriya, Nezu greeted. Safe is a strong word to use in this case, Izuku muttered sarcastically. As for recovered, that depends on what your definition of it is. Most of the people in the room couldn't tell whether Izuku was being serious or not. Though, that was to be expected considering the recent events. Nezu turned his attention to the other two students in attendance. Nito Monoma, Hitachi Shinso, you both played a part in stopping the assailants from kidnapping Midoriya, and for that we are grateful. Nezu stood up on his chair and bowed, much to the latter's surprise. They weren't used to receiving praise like this, especially from the principal. I also take it that you've been fully informed of the situation, and who Midoriya is. There were nods from the pair. Hitachi wore his usual stoic expression, but Nito actually looked pretty annoyed as he crossed his arms. He wasn't even wearing his usual grin, which Vlad thought was unusual. Yeah, we were told. Little pissed off that we weren't told sooner, but hey, you're the teachers, you know what's best, Nito sneered, making no attempt to hide how he was feeling. Watch your tone, kid, we're still your teachers, Snipe warned. Nito didn't back down. Excuse me for being angry over not being told I was attending classes alongside a villain, Nito snapped. One who happens to be a member of the league, you know, the guys who attacked UA twice and harmed my friends. Oh, and let's not forget he's got a murderous psychopath after him. Yeah, we really didn't need to know about that. I'm so sorry. He really made the last part out to be mocking, showing he didn't feel an ounce of regret. Izuku, as much as he didn't like Nito, couldn't blame him. Everything he was saying was the truth. At the very least, he's not as bad as my family, Nito thought. While he did not like Izuku, he thought his family were far more villainous than he was. Enough, let's get back to the topic at hand, the police commissioner general. He turned his focus to the elephant in the room. Midoriya, these people that attacked you. Shino and Blade, Izuku informed him. The general commissioner blinked. Yes, them. What can you tell us about them? Their quirks, personalities, backgrounds, and skills. Izuku sighed. He knew he was going to be asked questions like this. There wasn't much he could tell them, unfortunately. Blade I can't tell you much about since I hardly know the guy. We met like once or twice in Hades, and even then, we didn't talk much. His quirk is Blade Body, which allows him to transform any part of his body into any type of blade of his choosing. They're quite sharp as well, being able to cut through anything. I don't know anything about his past other than he's worked for Hades for years. Personality-wise, well, he's a bit of an asshole. He's obnoxious, loud-mouthed, and very angry. He's quite bloodthirsty and sadistic. The man really loves to fight, Izuku explained. Now that part he knew to be true from his recent experience, and from what Shino told him in Hades. As for his skill set, I don't really know. He's one of Hades' professional assassins, so he's very good at hunting down and killing his target. He's also a competent fighter. The general commissioner nodded in understanding, while at the same time considering how much of a threat Blade was. From the sound of him he's at least a B-rank villain, he thought. We'll need to exercise caution around him. Perhaps we should have Eraserhead or someone like Crimson Riot deal with him. I wonder about the other one though. Shino, she's a different story. For starters, she's quirkless like me, Izuku said, much to everyone's, except for Ed's shock. Snack couldn't believe what he was hearing. She's quirkless. And yet she managed to block my shots like they were nothing. Izuku wasn't surprised at their reactions. A quirkless person being able to fight on par with individuals like them would surprise anyone, and it annoyed him greatly. Shino told me she was from a mercenary group which I now know as Butler. However, she was captured by Shiro during one of her assignments, and turned into one of his special slaves. In terms of her personality, she's generally calm and emotionless, but also quite polite with certain individuals. She loves to fight strong opponents and has no qualms about killing, though she'll avoid it unless necessary. She's one of Shiro's special slaves and his top assassin next to Nico. Shino rarely, if ever, fails a mission, or comes back empty-handed. As for her skills, she's a highly trained assassin who is lethal in combat, versed in multiple martial arts and a weapons expert, Izuku continued. The pros were starting to get an idea of just how dangerous this woman was, even without a quirk. Izuku sensed what they were thinking. Of all the things you do not underestimate Shino, especially because she doesn't have a quirk. There are many who have fallen by her hand because they underestimated her, both hero and villain. During my fight with her there she held back because she didn't want to capture me because she hates Shiro. If she did want to capture me, or kill for that matter, believe me, she would have done it. In fact, if she wanted to, she could kill some of you quite easily. The pros and detectives were unnerved by that. Considering he knew Shino firsthand, they decided to trust his word. Furthermore, having witnessed how strong Izuku was without a quirk, they had learned not to underestimate those who were quirkless. Ed knew Shino well, having fought with her many times before, as well as other things. Izuku secretly spied on Edshot's reaction. He was still in disbelief that he was the special someone Shino had told him about in Hades. Nito and Hitachi felt the same way. They hadn't realized how dangerous that woman was before, and now they were thinking they were lucky to escape with their lives. Their thoughts were interrupted by a familiar voice barging into the room alongside several others. She's welcome to try, but she won't succeed, Endeavor announced in a serious yet confident tone. It doesn't matter how strong she is. In the end, she will fall, just like any other villain. The fact that she's quirkless is irrelevant. If anything, it's an advantage to use against her. Alongside Endeavor there was Mariko, Ryukyu, Manuel, Gang Orca, and Crimson Riot. Izuku internally groaned. It was bad enough he had a panic attack, was brutally assaulted earlier today. Now he had to deal with this asshole. Endeavor was glaring at Izuku, still angry at the boy for the humiliation he had suffered during their last encounter. Nezu said he wasn't allowed to harm him, but that didn't mean he couldn't try and provoke him. Advantage, did you listen to a word I just said? Izuku asked incredulously. Shino is dangerous. Her full name is Shino Tenshin. Divided up it is Shino Tenshin. Angel of Death. All might flinch when he heard that. Those of Butler were usually named after their quirks, though there were exceptions, and for good reason. And believe me, it's fitting in her case. If you don't want to heed my warning, be my guest. Just don't come crying to me when you get a knife in your eye. While the pros were taking Izuku seriously, Endeavor refused to relent. He refused to acknowledge that a quirkless person could even be considered a serious threat. Midoriya didn't even come close to qualifying. The only reason he won his fight was because of dumb luck and nothing more. TCH. You're right, he sneered. Izuku has already grown tired of the man's attitude, and decided to put him in his place. Okay, why are you here? Nobody likes you, Izuku pointed out. Stupid boy, I am a great hero and have done many things. I have many fans and am admired by them all. I am an example for them, Endeavor arrogantly declared. Some of the teachers and pros didn't entirely agree with that statement, specifically the example part. The two students didn't agree with it either. Itachi didn't particularly like Endeavor as a hero, and was beginning to like him even less as a person. For Nito, Endeavor wasn't the sort of hero he admired. Izuku resisted the intense urge to laugh at that retort. Endeavor was obviously stupider than he gave him credit for if he truly believed that. Deluded fans do not count. If they knew the kind of person you really are, you would be ruined. I can be a villain, but you are not a hero. You are rotten to the core, and any of the Heroes Association can't see this. For that reason, you have no friends, and nobody respects you as a person. The room was silent. Many could not believe what Izuku had just done. He had just stood up to the No.2 hero. Some like Mick, Cementus, Ryo, Namasa, All Might, Mariko, Manuel, and Power Loader had their mouths open in shock. Nito, for the briefest of seconds, felt a deep level of respect for Izuku. Itachi was similar, only he was admiring his bravery. Nezu, Aizawa, and Crimson cocked their heads slightly with intrigue. Damn it, kid. You've got guts, I'll give you that. But you do not want to piss off Endeavor, Manuel thought worriedly. He knew very well how angry and violent the man could get. The memory of Hosa was still present in his mind, of how Endeavor violently destroyed the Nomu attacking the city. To him it seemed like it wasn't out of duty, it was more out of rage of something that happened to him. All Might was concerned as well. He remembered his conversation with Izuku and, while he didn't want to believe Angie was capable of those things, he was more cautious of the man. At the meeting, and now, he was starting to see that Izuku wasn't lying about his personality. Endeavor was enraged at what Izuku just said. The fire around his body was burning more fiercely than normal. If one were to describe him, they could say he looked like a volcano ready to explode. You quirkless fuck. How dare you? If not for the fact that there are heroes, students and the police present, I would burn your entire body so badly that no matter what recovery girl did the scars would never disappear, Endeavor thought furiously. He had never wanted to hurt someone this badly before. Sensing that things would get out of hand if he didn't intervene, Nezu spoke up. That's enough, you two. Midoriya, don't provoke him. Endeavor, remember my warning during the meeting earlier, so don't attempt anything reckless, Nezu warned, the same aura he exhibited during the meeting coming out. Endeavor stood back and remained quiet, still glaring at Izuku. Izuku on the other hand registered what Nezu said. Hold a minute. Meeting? What meeting? He asked confused. He'd been out for hours, he must have missed some drama, only to wake up to his own. The heroes and police gathered together for a meeting a few hours ago to discuss the situation and how to deal with it, Hitachi explained. As soon as he heard that, Izuku instantly became worried. Please tell me you didn't inform the public where it was and when, Izuku begged. Everyone frowned. Of course, we told them. They were panicking, we needed to do something to reassure them, the general commissioner stated. It's standard procedure. Izuku groaned and facepalmed himself. He had the incredible urge to call these people a bunch of idiots, but then he reminded himself that they didn't know Shiro as he did. If you did that, then Shiro definitely knew about it, which means he also knows about what you're planning and how you'll do it, Izuku exclaimed. Some were about to protest, but he stopped them before they could. Before you even think about arguing, let me ask you something. The police headquarters is heavily guarded, and your security system would notify you if anyone had broken in, right? Yes, you are correct, Woof, Tsurugumi acknowledged. Now, what if, level with me here, something very small like a spider bee got in? Would it detect them and see them as a threat? Would you be notified of their presence? Izuku asked. Their silence was enough of an answer for him. No, you wouldn't. So, if someone says had a quirk that let them become an insect, wouldn't it be easy to break in and spy on you? The police eyes widened. The Commissioner General went pale. Why, you're kidding, the Commissioner General stammered. That guy actually has someone who can. Izuku nodded in confirmation. Yes. Her name is Robin. She's the only child that is a special slave of Shiro's, and he actively uses, Izuku explained. Her quirk is small creature, which allows her to become any living non-human being, provided it's quite small. Examples include a cat, a bird, and a mouse. She could even transform into a ladybird if she wanted to. If it is small, she can change into it. The quirk itself might not sound like much, but it's perfect for spying on others. The pros and police were surprised that a child was the one that did this, though they could easily see why. A quirk like that may seem weak, but used properly it could be quite deadly. Especially if the girl wanted to turn into a snake or a venomous spider. Special slave. You use that term for Shino. What is that exactly? Midnight inquired. A special slave is a slave Shiro highly values based on their abilities and usefulness, one he isn't willing to lose or get away easily. It's one he won't let go of no matter what and will do whatever he has to, in order to keep them in their place. They are quite powerful and must be controlled under any circumstance. Before I tell you about that, I must first explain how he keeps regular slaves in check. All slaves at Hades have a collar around their neck that's put on when they arrive and monitors their every move. If they go somewhere they're not supposed to, break a rule, cause trouble, or even try to escape, the collar will administer an electric shock. If one breaks enough rules, the collar will shock them until their hearts can't take it anymore, and they die. If they try to escape, the collar will explode, Izuku explained. The teachers, in particular Aizawa and Vlad, went pale and felt incredibly tense. The full depth of their students' circumstances was finally coming to light. They were trapped, unable to escape, even if they wanted to, with their alternative being death. The pros, including Endeavor, were just as shocked. They knew the man kept slaves, but they didn't think he would go that far to keep them in line. Nito was horrified to hear what his friends were going through. They could be suffering right now. Hell, they could actually end up dead, he thought. They had been taught about being in life or death situations with villains before, but to actually be in them was a different story. There was a training camp, sure, but this was way more dangerous than that time. This place, this group, this man, it sounds like hell on earth, Hitachi thought. Mostly it's adults that die of this. Children aren't affected to the same extent. They get shocked from time to time, but they learn faster. Also, since they are kids, Shiro is more lenient on them while they grow up there, Izuku continued. Moving on to the special slave, they don't wear collars, they instead have a bomb injected into their neck that can blow their heads off anytime they act out of line. It can still hurt them as well. Shino is one of these people, Robin is another. Others include the elemental assassins, speed demon and so on. My god, Namasa whispered without thinking. Izuku eyed him. He wasn't wrong. He reacted the same way when he first found out about it. To do such a thing to human beings, even a child, how cruel. Ryuki lamented. The bastard, now I really want to pummel him, Riko raged. Nezu had different thoughts. They're slaves. Broken, tortured, frightened, just like I was, he thought sorrowfully. Even though they kidnapped his students, he couldn't help but sympathize with them. What they were going through was like what atrocity did to them. He knew they would have to face them, but still felt sorry for them. It wasn't their fault. For them, it was do or die. Out of professional and personal curiosity, is Shiro likely to make any of the captured students or civilians into one of these special slaves? Crimson Riot asked in a deep voice. Izuku stared at the veteran hero and contemplated his answer for a few seconds. I don't know, he answered honestly. Anything is possible. They might not be deemed worthy of it now, but after a while, after they've lived there and have been properly molded, they may become one. That caused minor uproar. They won't get the chance, All Might declared. We'll stop them and rescue everyone from that monstrous group. Most heroes chatted in agreement. Izuku only scoffed at his former idol's outburst. No, you won't. You guys will fail, and end looking like a bunch of pathetic weak idiots, Izuku stated in a mocking tone. And then most of you will either end up captured, or better yet dead. And believe me, death is better. If you live, you'll either lose whatever freedom you have, and you'll be forced to live with the shame and humiliation that you lost, and couldn't save anyone every day for the rest of your lives. You'll also have to deal with the bitchy complaints and bitchy insults from civilians, demanding to know why you lost and didn't save them, since you're supposed to be heroes. The room went into a stunned silence. Izuku clearly meant what he was saying. Did he really think they had no chance of succeeding? Heroes like Gangorka, Aizawa, and Ed Shaw couldn't help but agree with his comments about the civilians, and how they would react. Whenever pros made a mistake, the media and civilians always made sure to harshly criticize them. Even when it was only a small incident, they found a way to blow it out of proportion. Endeavor scowled. So, the quirkless brat thought they were weak. Well, he would show him. Listen here you, quirkless villain, I don't think you understand, he started. No? You're the ones that don't understand. Izuku yelled, catching everyone by surprise. Izuku realized what he had done and quickly calmed down. You don't get it, do you? These aren't your average villains. These guys are trained killers, thieves and combatants. You could rank most of them as A-class villains, since any one of them is capable of fighting on par with heroes. Hell, they even have two pro heroes working for them. What? Nito, Vlad, Mariko, Mick, Midnight, Power Loader, Crimson Riot, All Might and Manuel shouted. They couldn't believe it. Pro heroes were working for a group like that. They're not doing it willingly if that's what you're thinking, Izuku reassured them. They're slaves just like everyone else. I've only met a few though, and they were foreign heroes, though there was one Japanese hero. Everyone exhaled with relief and astonishment that there were foreign prisoners. Did that mean Hades worked overseas as well? Their surprise turned to confusion when Izuku dropped this bomb. Back to the topic at hand, Midoriya, Nezu addressed. I understand that this is a sensitive topic for you, which is why I won't ask you to describe your time at Hades. However, I will ask that you provide information on their members, the group's base, and what slaves usually do. With barely any information, we will be going in blind. So please, as an educator and a hero, help us save everyone. Nezu placed his paws together and bowed. Izuku was stunned by the act. The heroes were clearly desperate, Nezu was desperate. Izuku didn't want to be involved, if anything, he wanted to get as far away from this place as possible. Although, remembering what he went through at Hades, what he did to survive and protect others, made him sympathize with the people held captive there, including the students. He didn't particularly care about them, but he didn't want them to suffer the same trauma he did. Gathering his resolve, he spoke. I will tell about the members I know about, even write up a list for you. I was a slave there once, so my knowledge is limited. However, I know enough to know who's dangerous and what to avoid, Izuku said. Nezu looked up, hope in his eyes. But know this principle, Commissioner General, whatever raid you are planning, I will not be accompanying you on it. I will be staying here away from it all. Itachi was curious as to why he would want that. Was it really that bad? The teachers didn't have a problem with it, although Endeavor was a different story. Of course, you'll be coming, he arrogantly declared. How else are we to know the information is authentic? A villain like you could be leading us into a trap with false information. At this point, everyone in the room was getting tired of Endeavor's attitude. Hound Dog was just about ready to get out of his seat and slam the man's head through the wall. Vlad and Midnight felt similar. Snipe had the urge to put a bullet through the arrogant man's mouth just to shut it up. God, young Midoriya was right. Enji is an asshole, All Might thought. He had finally realized it. You may as well just call me now, Izuku responded without a hint of emotion. The minute Shiro or any of his minions find out that I'm involved, I'll be dead faster than any of you can blink. Many people in the room felt uncomfortable when Izuku said that. He was truly certain of his death by these people. It wasn't a prediction, it was a fact. If I get a choice, I'd rather you just shot me, Izuku requested. Preferably in the head. That way it'll be quick and painless. Damn. He's really serious about this, Ryo thought. He'll definitely need more counseling after this, Ryo thought as he reflected on his previous discussions with Izuku. We're not gonna shoot you, kid, so forget it, Snap stated firmly. How could you even ask that? Do you have any idea of how painful a bullet through your skin is? I've been shot before, so yes, Izuku replied nonchalantly. The entire room stared at him with disturbing expressions. How could he speak about such a thing like it didn't matter? Izuku noticed the stares and decided to change the subject. Moving on, he started. Who the hell shot you? Nito asked. Doesn't matter, Izuku said. Was it Shiro? Hitachi asked. He did that once just to give me an idea of what it was like, Izuku replied irritably. It was in my right leg. That's not important right now. I think getting shot is very important, Power Loader spoke up. Not right now, Izuku reminded him. It's in the past, I've moved on like I'm about to do with this conversation. Was it the only time you were shot, or did it happen any other time? Namasa asked awkwardly. Doesn't matter, Izuku replied in a serious tone. Besides, it's none of your business. So, you were shot by others then? Ectoplasm guessed. Izuku groaned. Yes, I was shot by others. Are you satisfied? Not really, Ryo said without thinking, earning him a death glare from Izuku that screamed, shut the fuck up. It didn't stop there, unfortunately. So, who else shot you? Mick asked without thinking. That did it. Oh. My. Fucking. God. Seriously, you people are starting to piss me off, Izuku swore. Do you want to know about Hades and its members, or do you want to know about all the times I got shot? A bit of both, All Might admitted. He immediately regretted saying that. Izuku faced him with a death glare and released his killing intent, causing most people to flinch while others were intimidated. The voice Izuku spoke next was dark and dangerous. All Might, I swear. Arms, legs, recovery girl, arms, legs, recovery girl. The process will repeat over and over until you get the idea. He looked around at everyone else. Correction, until all of you get the idea. Have I made myself clear? Their silence was enough of an answer for him. Izuku calmed down and retracted his killing intent. What the hell was that? Nito thought fearfully. He did the same thing with those bullies the first time we met, but that was much stronger, Hitachi thought, both fearful and intrigued. Interesting. So, he can channel killing intent. A skill he likely learned from his master, or the hero killer Stain, Nezu thought. Izuku sighed. These heroes were difficult to deal with. The League was much simpler. Now to answer your questions in reverse order, Izuku declared. About what slaves do, well, that depends on certain things. Usually, when a slave comes in, they are evaluated on their abilities, and I mean abilities, not just quirks. Shiro's more focused on what a person can do rather than their quirks. In his mind, quirks are simply tools to be used. Considering how skilled the students are with their quirks, they'll likely be assigned jobs best suited to them. For instance, Uraraka and Oasis' quirks make them useful for construction, Shiozaki and Komori's quirks make them useful in the field of agriculture, Iida's quirk would make him suited to being a messenger, you get the idea. Others may be bodyguards for the place, or they'll be trained to fight in the underground matches. The matches are ranked, so there's a high chance they'll be up against someone of equal strength or skill. However, there's one thing you should know about the arena. It's built in with technology that can change the setting entirely. It could be a volcano, a beach, or even a snow-covered mountain. Depending on the setting, it could provide an advantage or disadvantage towards the combatants. The teachers slowly absorbed all the information presented before them. It appeared that Hades had a very clear and organized structure and management. About the base, it's mostly underground. From what I heard, it runs from Nagoya to Yamagata. They've even got a base or two in Hokkaido and one or two around the Okinawa Islands near Kagoshima, Izuku told them. The base is divided up into different areas. Construction, agriculture on the surface, sleeping quarters, adults and children separate, science and technology development area, drugs, for quirks, weapons, fashion design, believe it or not, training, bars, canteens, you get the idea. The heroes and police gasped. They knew the group's base was big, but they didn't think it was that big. Now then, onto the members. I'll write you up a list, but I'm going to inform you about the ones I'm most familiar with, and the ones you need to be wary of. Spoiler alert, some of them are slaves, so get ready, Izuku told them. Everyone tense for this next part. When I was with Hades, I was put in the children's section because I wasn't a legal adult. The ages of most children ranged from 8 to 12, though there were some teenagers. They are looked after by Yumi, her sister Utada, and Lobo. Yumi is a guard at Hades who specializes in aquatic battles. When someone attacks via the sea, she is usually the first to react. Gang Orca and Manuel were somewhat interested in her since they were water users as well. Her quirk is Mermaid. As it sounds, it allows her to become a mermaid, breathe underwater, swim long and fast distances, and communicate with sea life. Her quirk also allows her to manipulate the states of water. She can control it, freeze it, and boil it, thus making her very useful to Shiro. She's quite friendly and looks after the children well, making her suitable for the role of their caretaker. However, she's also a fierce combatant, so don't let your guard down. Utada is really just a caretaker for the children alongside her sister. The main reason she is there is that Yumi requested it from Shiro after she did such a good job. Utada's quirk is song. Whenever she sings, music plays automatically to match up with the song she's singing, and depending on the song, it affects the emotions of people around her. Everyone in the underworld loves her singing, even Shiro, which is another reason why she's allowed to remain with her sister. The pros and police said nothing. Quirks that revolved around music, or more specifically singing, were quite rare. They were curious about the emotions part though. Next is Lobo. While he helps look after the children, he is an active participant in the underground battles. The pros and police took an immediate interest in the man. His parents are both from Spain, but his mother moved here by herself when she was pregnant with him and his brother. He has the appearance of a luchador wrestler and adopts a fighting style like it. That didn't really surprise them. In Spain, many pro heroes base their appearances off luchador wrestlers, though there were some exceptions. His quirk is Wolf Soul. What it does is increase his physical abilities drastically and even take on abilities and traits like a wolf. With enough power, he can become a wolf, albeit not permanently. Now, I'll tell you about the pro heroes there. First, there's Cuchulainn, Ireland's former #1 hero. Former because he was captured years ago. His quirk is Gate Bulb, which allows him to summon spears of different shapes and sizes from his body. Next, there's Hercules, Greece's former 0.3 hero. His quirk is God's Strength, which grants him unbelievable levels of strength and durability. He also heals faster than most humans. When I say he's strong, I mean strong. It wouldn't be wrong to describe him as strong as All Might. The pro in question, alongside Endeavor, was stunned at that news. Both are active fighters in the underground battles. They also assist in training newcomers. Izuku remembered them both fondly. They helped him out with his hand-to-hand combat when Razor couldn't. The two students were curious as to how Hades managed to capture two high-ranked heroes, especially when one was just as powerful as All Might. As curious as he was, Nezu had just gotten the idea for a new school subject to teach at UA. International Studies. Well, not exactly a new type of subject, it would be slightly different to the others. International Studies would involve students researching and studying heroes from overseas, as well as hero laws in other countries. After all, there could come a day when they are working abroad with a hero and vice versa. Speaking of training, Diamante, the 0.4 hero from Portugal, assists by providing targets for the trainees. Her quirk is Diamond Clone, which enables her to spawn clones that are as hard as Diamond. They are not sentient and can only be commanded by Diamante. The more clones summoned, the less powerful they are, and the weaker the user becomes. The clones are quite useful as dummies and opponents in the battles. The UA staff were intrigued by her quirk. Cloning was an incredibly rare and powerful quirk that very few had possessed throughout history. And this one involved creating clones made of diamond. All Might knew her. Around 15 years ago they worked a case together while he was in America. She was in pursuit of a villain she had been tracking for over a year. After much effort, they found and captured the villain and she returned to Portugal. Next there's the Japanese hero I was telling you about before. A UA grad by the name of Akuma. The entire UA staff flinched when they heard that name. Of all the students that attended UA, Akuma was certainly one of the few that stood out the most, and not in a good way. His quirk made him look villainous, and his attitude was that of a delinquent. It wouldn't be wrong to describe him as the most rebellious UA student that had ever lived. However, up until now, they thought he was dead. Endeavor scowled at that brat's name. The one hero he probably hated more than All Might, and he had almost forgotten him. His quirk is Devil, which as it sounds, lets him transform into a devil that enhances all his physical abilities, enables flight, and allows him to wield fire that's much hotter than most. He's a frequent combatant but doesn't do much else. Akuma, as Izuku had discovered, was different from other pro heroes because he, in Akuma's own words, said that he didn't give a crap about what other people thought of him. He did his job like he was supposed to because he wanted to. Now moving on to some of the individuals you will likely face. First up are some of Shiro's special slaves, the elemental assassins. Blaze, Aqua, Tempest, and Atlas. Masters of fire, water, air, and earth respectively. They've honed their quirks to utilize every quality of their element as best they can. The personality of everyone varies, but they are a lethal force to be dealt with. Their teamwork has allowed them to achieve multiple victories over the years. Do not underestimate them. Namasa was curious as to what Izuku meant by every quality of their element, but didn't ask any further. Speed Demon, real name Heiai, is another special slave. His quirk is Sonic Speed, which allows him to move faster than a normal human. Heiai is generally friendly to others, but fights and even kills just to survive. Knowing him, he'll probably try and teach Iida and help him hone his speed. Aizawa was surprised to hear that. Why would he help Iida improve? Is it so he can fight better in the battles? One person you really need to look out for is Pain, real name Midori. She's one of Shiro's chief torturers. The woman loves to bring pain to others, and uses her quirk pain enhancement to it. The quirk can make a simple paper cut feel like a knife cut, however, she must drink her victim's blood while doing this. You'll know her when you see her. The woman looks like a complete dominatrix. Midnight growled. Already she hated this woman. Everyone else was terrified of her quirk. Any quirk that focused around torture was one to be feared. Next are two teams that serve Shiro willingly. Volcano Thieves and the Wild Villains. The Volcano Thieves are made up of Volcano, Dusty Ash and Gus Boar. Their quirks are Eruption, where magma is produced from the body, thus creating ash like dust from the body, and Fan, the ability to generate wind and tornadoes by spinning one's wrists, respectively. The Commissioner General paled when he heard those names. Those villains were well known. To think they were working for a man like Shiro. The wild villains are Curator, Zookeeper, and Bearhead. What? Gang Worker shouted, catching everyone off guard. Curator. That son of a bitch works for Shiro. Izuku stared at him and nodded. I heard rumors that you two had an unpleasant history, he said softly. They're rumors, Gang Worker retorted. We've been at each other's throats for as long as I can remember. He's a sadistic bastard who enjoys experimenting on others regardless of the pain they go through. When something is of no further use to him, he discards it like a piece of garbage. He is an S-class villain who wants to dominate humanity, though I never let him get very far. His quirk whale allows him to transform into a sperm whale, giving him a boost in all physical attributes, and makes him out to be quite lethal in aquatic combat. Izuku knew the look Gang Worker was giving when he talked about the man. It was pure, unconditional, uncontrollable hatred. He heard rumors about how he and Curator were arch-nemesises, but he didn't know that much about it. It was kind of ironic though. Orca was a killer whale, while Curator was a sperm whale. Two aquatic animals of the same family battling it out to see who comes out on top. His two associates are Zookeeper and Bearhead. Bearhead is a mutant type whose quirk is Brown Bear, giving him all the physical attributes and abilities of a bear. He's usually friendly, but he's a ruthless warrior and is fiercely loyal to Curator. Zookeeper, unlike Bearhead, isn't there because she wants to be. Curator came across her years ago and decided that he wanted her because of how useful her quirk is. Since he knew she wouldn't join him willingly, he subjected her to a drug he created called Solace. The drug robs someone of their free will entirely, and transforms them into a mindless slave who'll answer to only the one who gave it to them, and others deemed worthy. He manufactures it frequently for Shiro as a way to make the more rebellious slaves a little more obedient. The pros were horrified at what they just learned. To think such a drug existed. What's more, it seemed that the girl, Zookeeper, wasn't even an actual villain, just a victim. The Commissioner General knew her from files about her activities as a villain. She was a lethal fighter and had performed many crimes without any real reason. They had suspected she was taking orders from someone for a while, but now they knew for certain it was Curator. The Psycho was a sly bastard, he'd give him that, and clever too. He never would have imagined he could create something like that. Substances that held power over the mind were practically non-existent. You all know about the drugs I created for the League, and how they can heal and enhance strength and intelligence, but believe me, Curator is far worse. Solace literally takes away a person's free will and forces them to comply with their master's demands, Izuku warned. He'd be lying if he didn't say the drug didn't frighten him. Shiro had once planned to use it on him before he escaped. Curator made sure of that. When he tested the drug on Zookeeper, he made her kill her entire family to showcase her obedience. She did it without hesitation or remorse, which is another effect of the drug. It robs someone of their emotions. There was a stunned, uncomfortable silence that nobody seemed willing or able to break. They were still trying to process everything they had just heard. The effects of the drug were terrifying enough, but what Curator did to test the compliance of his victim was even more shocking. That poor girl, Ryuki thought sadly. Gang Worker didn't think it was possible for him to hate Curator even more than he already did. Boy, he was wrong. What exactly is her quirk? Edshot asked, having remained silent for most of the meeting. You said it was the reason he wanted her. That was something the others were curious about as well. Zookeeper's quirk is cleaning. It might not sound like much, but it's powerful. It allows her to clean up anything including bloodstains and fingerprints from crime scenes, leaving very little evidence. Like Mr. Ozawa's erasure, it can also erase quirks, albeit for several minutes. However, it requires physical contact for it to work. Well, that explained it. With a quirk like that, anyone could get away with a crime, and it would render many heroes powerless. Okay, enough about the teams. I'm about to move on to two very important figures. The first is Miko Tsukiyama, Shiro's right-hand woman. She was taken in by Shiro at a young age and taught how to fight. She's fiercely loyal to Shiro and will slaughter anyone who stands against him without mercy. Like Todoroki, she's a half and half user. Her quirk is half sun, half moon, which allows her to absorb and channel the power of the sun and moon on each side respectively. You'll know her when you see her. Oh, and if you are wondering how strong she is, she's the second most powerful directly after Shiro. It wouldn't be wrong to consider her an S-class villain. Endeavor was interested in the fact that she was similar to his son. Was she the product of a court marriage as well? Namasa and Nezu were both considering how to deal with this woman. If she was a half-and-half user, then that meant she had very few weaknesses. Finally, the main bad guy, Shiro. Everyone tensed at what Izuku was about to say. This had been what they were most curious about since they first heard of him. Shiro is the head and monarch of Hades. Despite his youthful appearance, he's in his 50s. In terms of personality, he's ruthless and he rules Hades with an iron fist. He's very charismatic and efficient as he can lead all his members greatly, and he accomplishes all tasks successfully. Though many are his slaves, he will step in and defend them if they are assaulted and taken by opposing forces. What's more, in terms of membership, Shiro doesn't discriminate. He's open to anyone joining Hades, regardless of their past, family, gender, religion, race, sexual orientation, or appearance. The one exception to that are rapists. Shiro despises them and doesn't tolerate it when someone attempts it on his turf. One time a guy tried to sexually assault Rika and Shiro straight out decapitated him. Another time was when a group of children were kidnapped by a rival group for certain purposes, and he made them pay dearly. I didn't see how, but I saw the state their bodies were in. Other than that, he engages in any other criminal activity, but rape is the one thing he is absolutely against. As everyone slowly digested this information, they were starting to get a better idea of what kind of individual they were up against. Moving on to his abilities, Shiro's quirk is light form, which is a form of photokinesis. It allows him to control, shape and manipulate light to various degrees. He can shoot light, make weapons and barriers out of light, create illusions and holograms and so on. He can even turn himself invisible by bending the light within, allowing him to keep a low presence. In addition, Shiro is a master martial artist and possesses various physical abilities that make him one of the strongest quirk users. He's also quite intelligent, being able to formulate and carry out various plans. This will be no easy foe, All Might thought. He may even be as strong as All for One. Nezu was curious about something else. Midoriya, if you don't mind me asking, who exactly works in their science and weapons department? Nezu asked. I'm curious as to who had the skill to hack into UA. The person you're thinking of is Rika Fudo. She's a scientific genius with technological skills that surpass anyone in Japan. She attended college at an early age and has several degrees, but was rejected by companies for being quirkless. At one point she attempted to commit suicide, but was found and brought to Shiro, decided to take advantage of her skills. More than likely she designed the devices that aided in the mole raid, and the computer virus that attacked UA. I would know because I gave her the idea for the virus to draw away attention from a certain area. She has an assistant who's quirkless as well named Shida. He's around 13 or 14. He's also a fashion designer for Hades. While some were surprised Shiro had quirkless people working for him, they remembered what Izuku said about the usefulness of an individual to Shiro. One person didn't believe him. Endeavor snorted when Izuku finished speaking. The sheer notion that the quirkless were capable of such feats were complete and utter bullshit in his opinion. Izuku turned and faced Endeavor with a glare. Something you want to say, Endeavor? How about you say it to my face? Izuku challenged. Endeavor returned the glare. Yes, actually. I find it very hard to believe quirkless people like you are actually capable of such amazing feats, when most of the time you're completely useless and have more value as a stepping stone for more talented individuals with quirks, Endeavor sneered. Take you for example. You're a quirkless villain who I'm guessing only became a villain because you have no place in a world where superpowers are normal, while you are a relic from a forgotten age that most people would like to remain forgotten. Be honest, the only reason you are a villain is that you finally realized that there was no place for you in this world, because you are nothing, and you will always be nothing. If you had remained a normal citizen, you would have been lucky enough to end up with a job at some busted supermarket where your kind belongs, out of sight and out of everyone's way. The room gasped at what Endeavor just said. That was going way too far. Almost every person in the room's eyes was whitened in shock. Nido and Hitachi were in a state of disbelief. That wasn't how a hero was supposed to behave. Aizawa, Sekijiro, and Ryo were about ready to pounce on Endeavor and beat him to a pulp. They were completely sick of his attitude. Namasa felt a great deal of offense at that comment, while All Might, after years of knowing the man, finally realized what a dick Endeavor truly was. Izuku, having had a very stressful day, snapped. It was time to knock Endeavor off his high horse and put him in his place. Endeavor, Izuku spoke in a soft condescending voice. What are you even doing here? Do you not have anything better to do? What happened here is a matter concerning the school. This has no involvement with you. So instead of forcing me to see your ugly face, you could be helping in the Hades investigation, since even a fake hero like you could do this. And in case you could not, you could go back home and leave the job to more qualified people. While this happens, you could calmly polish and clean all your silver medals and trophies you earned for always being second best. After all, in your life you never won a gold award first, all you know is silver. There was silence. Complete and utter silence. As shocked as everyone was with what Endeavor said, they were even more shocked at what Izuku just said. Damn kid. Ryo thought stunned. Damn Midoriya. Namasa thought amazed. Kid's got balls, I'll give him that. Crimson Riot thought impressed. Problem child indeed. Aizawa thought frustrated. This isn't going to end well. Vlad thought worried. What a badass. Hitachi thought. I really need to stop pissing him off. Nito realized. I feel like I should stop this, but I also want to see where it leads. Nezu thought curiously. Endeavor was shaking with absolute rage. The fire on his skin was burning hotter and more brightly than before. It looked like he might explode at any second. This quickless mistake, Izuku Midoriya. How dare he? No one insulted him like that and got away with it. No one. He forgot entirely that there were people present and focused solely on the source of his anger. Without warning, and before anyone could react, Endeavor screamed out loud and dashed towards Izuku, his fire blazing brightly with the intent of incinerating him. Unfortunately for him, Izuku was prepared for the attack. He took something in the form of dust out of his pocket and threw it at Endeavor's eyes. The No. 2 hero screamed in agony and halted his assault. Not wasting any time, Izuku moved in and kneed Endeavor very hard in the gut, causing the man to vomit slightly. The then karate chopped the back of his neck quickly, strongly, and in the right position to knock him unconscious. With other people, Razor and Stain were moving as quickly as they could when they both felt a certain feeling causing them to stop abruptly. Razor, Stain called out. Stain, I don't know why, but I suddenly feel incredibly proud of that brat, she admitted. Same here. Maybe he took out a false hero we both despise, he suggested. Maybe, Razor seemingly agreed. The pair continued moving after that. Rei Todoroki woke very suddenly. Strange, I feel like someone I know got a piece of karma, she whispered. And it feels good. She didn't dwell on it much and went back to sleep. Tamura and Kurogiri were plotting their next move when they felt something that made them jolt up. Kurogiri, I'm not sure why, but I feel like Deku just did something that was totally awesome, and we would both laugh uncontrollably, Tamura said. Yes, but what could it be? Kurogiri wondered. Shoto was distracted from his training with Yumi. Something wrong? She asked concerned. I feel like I missed a very important moment in my life, Shoto admitted. In his cell, Dabi started laughing uncontrollably, much to the guard's confusion. Oh man, I feel like that flaming bastard got exactly what he deserved, he snickered. I guess what they say is true. Karma is a bitch. Back with the others. The entire room was stunned at what just happened. Endeavor just tried to assault a teenager, the latter of which successfully took him down. What was it you threw at him? Hitachi asked. Peppercorn, Izuku replied. I grabbed while running from Shino and Blade. Based on a piece of advice Shino gave me at Hades where everything is a weapon. Ed Shaw couldn't help but agree with that. Izuku then turned to Nezu. Am I going to be punished for this? Punished for defending yourself? No, Nezu replied. Besides, Endeavor spent most of the time trying to provoke you, so it's only natural for you to fight back. Izuku sighed in relief. The Commissioner General made a mental note to inform others of Endeavor's behavior later. All Might picked Endeavor up to bring him back to his house. He was absolutely appalled at the man's behavior. He was going to be more cautious of him from now on. But that's all, I'm going to return to my dorm now, it's been a long day, Izuku informed everyone. I'll write up a full list of Hades members and activities, and give it to you tomorrow. He then turned to the other two students in the room. If you two want to spend the night at one at dorm, be my guest. They weren't sure why, but the pair wanted to spend the night there. Nito didn't want to be on his own, and Hitachi just didn't feel like going back to his own dorm. Vlad and Aizawa decided it would be a good idea to combine 1 and B for the time being, given how short their numbers are. With that, the boys returned to the dorm. Class 1 at dormitory bathing section. Izuku was currently drowning himself in the shower. His arm kept him steady against the wall as the hot water fell on his back. After that explanation he gave to the teachers, he was starting to remember his time at Hades more clearly. In particular, the pain he endured. The feeling of being shot and stabbed, witnessing people dying, the excruciating torture he endured at Midoriya's hands, being whipped, the battles he fought to survive, but most of all, the feeling he felt when he took life for the first time. He hadn't meant to, it was all in self-defense, though not for him. While he was remembering it all, Izuku didn't realize his breathing had started to accelerate, and he was on the verge of another panic attack. His knees fell to the ground and he clutched his chest. He couldn't stop. That's when a pair of hands grabbed him and pulled him into an embrace. SHH, it's alright, you're okay, Tokoyami's voice said soothingly while looking at Izuku with sympathy. You're fine. Nothing's happened. You're okay. It was then that Izuku broke down crying and sobbed into Tokoyami's chest, all while Tokoyami rubbed his back. Nito and Hitachi, who witnessed the event, were stunned. This was not the Midoriya they had seen so far. This one was far more vulnerable. Shortly afterwards it was reported to Aizawa and Vlad, who decided to monitor Izuku more closely in case of another event like this. They also decided to inform his mother. The remaining Class A students alongside two new additions sat around a table just staring at the bare surface of it with uncomfortable expressions. Seriously, what the fuck happened to him in that place? Nito wondered out loud. I don't know, but I get the feeling we're going to find out, Momo replied. And so, the long day of events that shook the nation had finally come to an end. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below, and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.